Fuck. All right, we're rolling.
Rolling.
Planet B
Presents.
Cult and Culture Podcast.
Welcome to episode 27 of the Cult and Culture Podcast. This is Justin Pearson.
And I'm Luke Hinshaw.
This episode features our friends from EarthQuaker Devices, Julie Robbins and Jamie Stillman, who have been longtime friends of mine through punk and hardcore, and also have somehow managed to integrate themselves into like everything we are associated with musically, like the weirdo community of musicians that we're part of. The EarthQuaker Devices community is just littered with all of our strange musician friends.
Yep. And our albums.
Yeah, that's all over our albums. So yeah, we did a thing in Ohio for the documentary that's coming out sort of soon, Don't Fall in Love with Yourself. We did a screening and a Q&A out there and did some stuff with EarthQuaker and recorded this podcast.
Yep. Got to check out their headquarters.
Which was so impressive.
Yeah.
Not that I've been to many manufacturing facilities of pedals, but like I did not know how insanely awesome and impressive it was going to be.
Yeah.
I think they're just easily one of the coolest pedal companies. They just don't seem like, no offense to the other companies, but like they just seem, I don't know, maybe it's the punk ethics or something, but it just seems more creative and more involved with artists and stuff. It's not the...
Yeah, there is a connection between that company and the artist. I do agree with that.
And all the people that work there.
Yep.
And like,
who are fucking awesome people.
Yeah, everybody we met there was great. It was like one of the coolest few days spending time with them. I could not get over how awesome it was, and I absolutely love them. And I mean, I love their pedals, but I love everybody involved in the company as well, which is kind of hard to say sometimes, about other capitalistic endeavors. So yeah, they are awesome, and we kind of, the podcast I think goes in so many different directions, which is another sign that it's just multifaceted. It's not just your basic pedal company. Yeah, without giving too much away, I mean, you, the listener, just dive in, and hopefully it'll resonate with you, and you'll check out their pedals and check out some of the artists they work with and the community that surrounds EarthQuaker Devices.
Yep.
Thanks. Enjoy.
My name is Julie Robbins.
I'm Jamie Stillman.
And...
I'm the president and product designer at EarthQuaker Devices.
There we go.
And I'm the CEO of EarthQuaker Devices.
There we go.
Nice.
Cool.
We've done this before. It's cool.
What?
Let's start over.
Oh, that was good.
That was great. That was really great. Come on. Okay, so my starting point that I had in mind was I would like to ask about EarthQuaker and how I perceive it as like not functioning. And we've kind of discussed this over the weekend, but how it doesn't function like a normal business ethically. And I think that's important because I think like, okay, we can all cite crass records all day long and say how we hate capitalism, but there is ethical capitalism. And you kind of, Julie, you said kind of like how you would prefer to give artists free gear that can't afford it opposed to the ones that can and expect it. I think that's an interesting statement and point to make, but I wonder if like somehow the business roots are coming from, I guess, punk ethics. And if you see that, or how you feel that like that translated into becoming what I think is a very successful business, especially after today, seeing all the stuff that you guys have going on.
Thanks.
I'm very impressed. I'll just say
Thank you. I mean, I know that Julie can speak a lot to this current day, but yeah, that's the start of EarthQuaker. I mean, didn't know we were starting a business. We started a business. It was like I make some stuff. I looked at it the same way I do everything I do. Like I'm in bands, like put out records, like another extension of that. It's like I made this stuff. I think it's cool, but there wasn't like a real like profit-driven motive behind it. So it's like, well, maybe other people will think this is cool. I'll put it up on eBay, see if people are into it for a reasonable price. It was thought the same way I did about records. It's like double the cost of how much it is, and then that's what it is. And then all the money just goes back into making the next like pedal. And that's like thinking of it as like a one-off thing, just like pedal by pedal. But, obviously it grew and it grew bigger. And that is where our roots are. is like in DIY and
You
punk
know,
rock.
yeah, because you start a band not to make money or be successful, but just to do something.
Yeah, because it's
cool.
fun.
Yeah.
And then like you can use that to like go on tour and meet people and see the world and stuff like that. And you know, I didn't have those visions for EarthQuaker, I think, at first, and I just like, oh, this might be cool. I'm here in my basement. I like fucking around with this stuff. See if other people are into it. And like, I don't know. It's like right place, right time. I feel like that set the groundwork for EarthQuaker to come.
Like also maybe, I mean, I don't know, like other owners of other pedal companies, I'm assuming play in bands or musical to some extent, but I wonder, again, like coming back to like where their ethics are, but also like what's a successful band? You know, I mean,
right. Yeah.
Successful, you had success, maybe your band wasn't huge and financially rewarding, but you had success in other ways.
Right, yeah. Like I would never consider like my band's a success, but I've made music that I like to make and got to tour doing it.
Then that's success,
yeah.
right? Yeah.
You know, it was like that we were doing the thing we were doing, and I felt the same way about pedals. Like to me though, like when we sold like 50 of something, I was like, holy shit, like this is a thing. Like there's like, because it's bigger and it's more expensive and it's like a different world
It's not
of
a
things. Yeah.
$10 7 or LP.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, it wasn't like the dawn of the internet or anything like that, but like 2005, 6, like guitar pedal forums were, I feel like, just coming online. So it was like you could get like immediate feedback a little bit and like see that people were excited. And I don't feel like.
And that was the start of the company.
Yeah, of the company and like kind of interacting with people like that. So to me, it did just feel like, I mean, I feel like I always cited, I just ran it like a band, you know?
Yeah, which maybe most companies
don't. No, I think that most companies who are going to set out to do like, you know, like where we've landed anyway, like where we are today.
Yeah.
Most companies in our position would have had a business plan and like maybe some like financial backing and been like, got this vision for this stuff. But
maybe if they have all that, there's a lot that I don't know, maybe there's more obstacles.
I definitely, I mean, I definitely think that there is like, I'm really happy about the position that we're in now too, and like that we continue to get in like more stuff that we bring under our control. Like it feels good to I mean, it's super stressful and really expensive and very time consuming, but it's like at least we don't have to answer to anybody. But I think that like that, you know, that is kind of just fundamentally who we are. So of course it's going to carry on into the business now. Just like that's the kind of music that we like, and most of those bands aren't popular. You know, like they're not making a lot of money or things like that. So those are the people that we just gravitate to support. Do you want to chime in?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, like, I think our philosophy is, well, first of all, yeah, like we said, we've never been like profit driven or like financially motivated to like make the biggest profit. In fact, I would look at that more as a failure of like not using our resources correctly. Like, I mean, you do want to make sure you have some financial stability, but I also think some of it came from being part of like the DIY scene. Part of it came from, in my experience in banking, I was a financial planner and I worked with a lot of small business owners. And I would see things and I would be like, God, that just seems so miserable to like be operating of this way of like mistrustful of everyone or like just trying to get it all for yourself, and felt like it should be more about if you have resources within your control that you're like spreading them equitably, and that like having employees, it's your responsibility to make sure if they're giving you 40 hours of their week that it's a job that can sustain them, that the things that come with employment, like having good benefits and having time away, like, and having parental leave and things like that are super important. Like this is the employer's job to provide it.
Yeah.
So yeah, a lot of that motivated my decision making, and you know, I would just feel like an asshole like if I was like collecting all this money and like keeping it all for us and just not supporting. So for me it's always like, well, some of it should be going here, some of it should be going there, some of it should be reinvested, some of it should be going, you don't have to be all or nothing. So if where your resources are going are in alignment with your values, then that's success. Like that, there's no better definition of success. And there's like no knowing what tomorrow will be. There's always going to be some new problem or some new expense that you weren't anticipating, but like you'll survive it. You know what I mean? Being pissed about it isn't going to help, And
I think that too, like that even kind of comes from like growing up in DIY. DIY.
Yeah.
But it's true, like just being resourceful, like learning how to fix almost any problem. Think your way through almost any problem. I feel like I learned personally just like so much of that from just playing in bands. And like it really does translate into this world in so many ways. It makes it easier to kind of roll with any of the issues or problem solving and stuff like that, I think. That's but that's my perspective on it. Like I didn't go to business school or like go to school to become an electronics engineer or anything like that, but there was like it was in me, and I think all of us to some extent to like want to see a solution and just want to get in and do it.
What drove you to want to start making your own pedals, and what was the first pedal you made?
The thing that got me into making pedals was just repairing a broken DoD 250 distortion. It was like an old one. And it was funny, like, I always played with, like, a handful of pedals and, like, way too many amps, like, in bands and stuff like that. But I didn't think much of it. Like, I wasn't, like, a gearhead or anything like that. I just thought all this stuff looked cool, and I liked vintage gear, and, like, I couldn't afford brand new gear. So I got really into pedals, like, after my bands broke up, and I was just kind of playing guitar by myself in the basement, and I just started collecting really cheap pedals. One of them was that DoD 250. Broke. I looked around. No one's repairing pedals at a music store. Like, I think the mindset of that is just like it's a throwaway item. Like, just get another distortion. But I did, and it didn't sound the same, and I was like, I like this one. I wonder if I can fix it. I found a website, General Guitar Gadgets. They had a schematic, and for whatever reason, it made sense to me. I was able to repair it. It was really simple, like looking back on it. It's like a broken pot, and that fixed it, and I was like, oh, cool. And then they had projects to build other pedals, so I built a clone of that pedal, and it just combined all the things that I liked, like guitars, tinkering, graphic design, all this. Same skills I utilized to like make record covers and write songs and stuff like that. So it was like, this is a lot of fun. It combines all my interests, and I got super obsessed with it. And I was really unaware too that like there's like a world of, I guess, what's called boutique pedals, like little brands where just like people were making pedals and small runs and putting them up for sale. Like I didn't really know that existed. Like I'd heard of Full Tone, but to me Full Tone was just like Boss. It wasn't any different. It was like you could go to the store and you could buy a Full Tone pedal, but I knew like there was something special about them. Like it was this guy and he played guitar and therefore they were better. But it was also like, I think at that time, like nobody really thought of like guitar pedals as something designed, or just gear in general as something designed by musicians. I didn't anyway. I just like was like, oh, it comes from companies, and like it's up to us to like fix them and make sure they work and stuff like that. So it was like an introduction to that world too. Like, and it was cool to find out there was a ton of little like pedal companies around, and it was like it just felt very familiar to me.
Sort of like how bands are perceived,
Exactly. Yeah. Like to me, it just felt, that's what I mean. Like it felt really familiar because it was like, oh, it's like record labels or bands and things like that. And like, there was no community. That was the weird part. Like all these,
at the time there was.
Yeah, no, there wasn't at the time.
Right?
Now there is. And I remember like the first time we did a NAMM show, like going around to a couple of the other little companies that I'd heard of, like Cattle and Bread was one. and being like, introducing myself and just saying hi, and everybody being like sketched out, like, why are you in our booth? Like, what's like your angle? What's going on? I was like, nothing. We're just all making pedals.
Like they were like,
I seen you on the internet on the forum. Yeah, I don't know. That's just kind of how it felt. But over the years, like, I think that, I don't want to take total credit, but I think that we were pretty instrumental in like building some kind of community with like people.
I mean, I was kind of intentional about it.
Yeah, people like getting together where it's like we're competitors, but we're not competitors. Like we're all suffering the same problems and like doing the same like fun stuff. So it's like, yeah, why wouldn't we talk to each other? Like, so
I think one of the big like turning points though is when Andy Richardson from Zvex, I was asking if you knew him, but we were like, cut from the same cloth, and his band, like we just came up from the same scene. And so always look forward to seeing him at NAMM, and felt this like camaraderie with him. And then he committed suicide. And I just really felt compelled to like start throwing parties where we all got together and like connecting with people more, and just like feeling like a lot of people could feel really isolated. But they didn't need to. There were so many people like all in the same boat. So, and
now it's like a thing. It's like everyone like is doing events together and like just having parties and like being super resourceful. And it all looks so.
Pedal companies collaborating.
Yeah.
Oh wow!
Like we did a collaboration with Death by Audio. We had talked to Cattle and Bread before Nick passed away about doing a pedal with them, and like. Like even JHS is doing stuff with Boss. Like Boss is getting involved now.
Weird.
Like
Whoa.
It's cool, like to see it kind of morph into this thing where it's not just a bunch of products and businesses, but now it's like it's its own little world, and it like it's very familiar.
Yeah, but also too when you mentioned like NAMM and the parties and stuff, I remember like when we first started hanging out and working together, like you guys were fucking killing it. I mean, NAMM is like, it's fine, I don't want to talk shit, but like your guys' little corner, not little corner, but you were, it was in the corner of the
we had it is a little
like,
corner.
Everyone was just like going off. It was awesome. It was like all the homies, all the weirdos, everyone was fucking having a great time.
And like the first time that really started to happen, it was like, holy shit, like this is awesome.
Yeah.
And every other company at NAMM just like being like, the fuck are they doing? And who are these people? I've never heard of any of these people. What is that person doing? But it was like everybody's way more interested in what like Nick Reinhardt's gonna do on stage than like some dude playing slap bass at like a backpack company next to us. Like it's bullshit. And like it really has like our little area has a different vibe. And like now I feel like a lot of booths, they're kind of doing the same thing, which is awesome. I'm not like bummed or like taking credit or anything like that. It's just it has completely changed since we first started going there. And I have no idea what NAMM used to be like, but from what I guess, it was like a bunch of like old white dudes doing cocaine and selling shred guitars. That's everybody's like, back in the day, NAMM was fucking awesome. I was in the Dunlop booth doing rails. I'm like, yeah, it sounds great.
Yeah,
it's so cool.
What does that have to do with being creative?
Yeah,
but it was like the one that you had us fuck around with like was like a show. It was like all these people, and then it was like all my friends were there, playing or hanging out, and I was like, this is rad. I remember like seeing bigger corporate like kind of companies being like freaking out, like, why do you guys have all of these people over there? And maybe, I don't know, you guys, we don't talk about it, but maybe it doesn't translate to sales compared to like,
I think it does. I mean, like at NAMM, that's where like dealers go to choose what brands they might carry, and like they can't help but like observe the enthusiasm of the people at the booth.
Also,
so
like a spectacle.
They, like so they might send their buyers to like go check out these different companies, and at every booth you'd have a different experience. And if you're trying to choose between several different pedal companies, like if there's one that there's like tons of people at, so crowded you can't even get in the booth sometimes, like, and people are really into it, like that's a really positive impression to like help you determine which ones you want to go with. So, but like we got to the point where we were like, trying not to have to do business at NAMM. So trying to like get the, like not have to like be dealing with orders and paperwork and stuff. I mean, still doing it, but like opening up the window and like kind of got a little far away from like going there to do business. Like, yeah, but it was still cool. Yeah.
I wonder if you could do like a food truck, but a pedal truck.
Yeah, I mean,
at some point we had this idea of like going around to festivals and like, essentially like equipping like a van to be like a mobile demo station. And cool, I know, and we like pre-pandemic used to do a lot more of that stuff, and I think we had even gotten as far as like getting quotes from some custom companies to like outfit something like that.
Make like a little RV kind of thing that we could like fold out pedal boards and stuff like that, but you could also drive it or sleep in it.
But it'd be so much cooler that if you're like outside, just being like, fuck you guys.
Well, I was really pushing this idea for a minute where we got like a giant shipping container, and it was like you couldn't get into it. Like you had to like, there's just like a little window and you had to ring a bell like to come into our booth. And it was just kept all of NAMM on the outside.
Yeah, inside though.
Yeah, inside, but keep everybody out.
I think we talked about that.
Well, I would think crazy stuff. I'd be like, for the price of NAMM, we could get a float in the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. Yeah. We can have all these people playing like wireless guitar and like have a tower of amplifiers on a truck, and we could all be wearing morph suits and have like some kind of synchronized dance, like. Probably do like 2 of those for a price of one.
For the price of the NAMM booth.
And no one's doing that. Yeah. So you're gonna be everyone's gonna be like, what's up with that? Instead of like, what's up with the pedal company with all the other guitar?
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
But the NAMM show I feel like is it's fun. Like just to add on to what Julie was saying earlier too about like, it is a place of business where like these people come in. It also like was turning those people on to like new things because like so much of that world is like Stevie Ray Vaughan, Joe Bonamassa, just like shred guitar or blues rock and things like that, and they can't put our pedals are far from the wildest things out there. Like they're pretty like tame, especially nowadays. You know, there's a couple weirdos in there, but like they couldn't. A lot of people couldn't put some of our stuff in context. And then it's like they see, you know, like Nick or you or Juan or Sarah Lipstate like on stage doing like making music with it in their own ways, and they're like, wow, all these people are wildly different, and they're all using this stuff, incorporating it in really like interesting musical ways. So it's like it was super helpful for that kind of stuff too.
I remember like walking in and I've only been there a few times, but when we did the thing together there, it was like. You hear the slap bass and you hear the Joe Satriani, and you're just like, ugh, you know, like it kind of feels like added anxiety. And we were trying to figure out where you guys were, and the things that like got our attention was, I remember, was it someone from like Scratch Pickles? Someone was like scratching, and I was like, oh shit, that's cool. And then a minute later, I don't know who was doing the EarthQuaker booth at the time, but I could hear something cool, and I was like, oh. Wait, we got to go that way. Like, you know, it was like a big mess of stuff, you know, but it was like, you could kind of like, it was like a homing beacon or like the Batman signal or something.
Yeah.
Like, oh, there it is. The weird shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a weird world.
It really
NAMM.
is.
Like, I think at every NAMM that we've done, like, there's been a day where I've fucking lost it. I've just been like, oh my God, this is too much. It's too much sound. It's too much, like, talking to people. It's, like, so, like, overload.
You have to bullshit with everyone?
Oh, yeah, like just overload of everything. And like now I spend a lot of time outside at NAMM, like taking meetings out there, or just hanging out there. And
outside of the building.
Outside of the building, like just right outside the doors, just to keep from the sound pollution. But it's like, it takes a really special kind of person to like be in that room and be on all day and like friendly and normal. It's like I have a meltdown
and then do it again the next day.
Yeah.
Or like I'll have like meetings like back to back every like 30 minutes, and I don't know, it's like not like, it's great to like see people and meet people for the first time, but you know, like when you're choosing like a distributor or something, you're not gonna be able to do it in 30 minutes. Like you have to go to their area and like see their operations and see what their market is like, you know, and I mean, at least for me anyways, like I just have a capacity, and when I have that capacity, I'm not I'm not going to remember everything from every meeting. You know, later I'm going to remember the stuff I wish I had asked or wanted to know, or, you know, it's just like really challenging. And partly because it's like you're competing with all of that noise.
Yeah, it's like
so if you're like trying to talk to someone, like half of it is like, what?
You get like tunnel vision. You're just like
yelling in your
visioning
ear,
a
and
saxophone
like,
beating on a hi-hat.
Yeah.
You're like, God damn it, what is
and
it?
you're like, is that what
That
they
sounds like it might be a
said? Or
good
you might
sound.
just like give up. Like, I'm never going to know what they're saying, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
It's almost
I
like the
don't know.
Peanuts.
Yeah.
What about like? I mean, obviously we've touched upon the artists that you guys choose to associate with, but I mean, I guess it's your friends, right? And people that you respect and like. But like, do you just have the whole spectrum as long as they're like cool to, you know, in your eyes? Like, is that how you grab?
Yeah, I think a little bit. I think that like they have to. I mean, we haven't worked with anybody that we didn't. I don't feel like anyway that we don't both think is like from our world. Like some of the people we didn't know at all. Like we didn't know Sun, and then it's like we got hooked up through Jim Turek at Reverb. They were mutual friends, and he was like, I think you guys would get along. And I scheduled a call with Greg, and it was supposed to be like just a 15-minute introduction. I ended up talking to him for 2 hours, and it was like, yeah, we're from the same worlds. Like we didn't know each other, but we have a million mutual friends, and we think we like the same kind of stuff. It's from the same world. And then it was like, yeah, like it brought it to Julie and was like, I think we should do this, like this product. And like Boris was, you know, similar kind of thing. It's just like it's just from the same world. And, you know, I think other people would be like super stoked to get like a big name and just do it because it's a big name, whether they like it or not. And like, we'll never.
Okay, so
we'll never do that.
I don't want to be negative here, but is there an artist that's like, we want to work with you, and you're like, nah?
Yeah.
You don't have to say who it is, but can you say who it is?
I mean, they'll know if they're listening.
There's a couple.
But we're not going to say.
Yeah, we are not going to say.
But also, sometimes it could be something other than who they are. It could be like the timing. It could be like what they're looking for.
Oh yeah.
Because there's been a lot of periods. Like, I feel like we started doing artist pedals when we had the capacity to do artist pedals. But I think a lot of companies, they start with artist pedals sooner to try to put themselves on the map. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
And I think for us, it was more of like appreciating the collaborative effort of it and like creating something cool together.
Yeah.
You know? So I don't know, probably different than how other companies or like big companies approach these types of things.
Yeah.
Where they're purely looking at like, what is the sales potential or something like that. And I'm like, we never really know. Like we just make it as good as we can. We try to make it as affordable as possible and we put it out there and we see what happens, you know?
Yeah, and both of those pedals, I mean, they really were like art projects. It was like driven by the art of it. And then, you know, the business falls into place. Like, you know how much it costs, you know how much you need to make on it, and we can kind of speculate based on like our sales and like the popularity of the band or whatever. But like everything has exceeded our like loose expectations like across the board. So it's been great to see like, you know, just people support us and the bands together. Like they wouldn't like us, or they wouldn't like the bands, or wouldn't have known of either one of us on their own. And it's definitely been cool.
Or like maybe when you set out to go do a collaborative pedal, you're I could be wrong, but like you're setting the like you're like, we have to at least sell this many, and it's pretty low in industry standards. Like, you know, like Boss wouldn't be like, what the fuck, like that's all you're gonna, you know, but you're capable and able and willing to do that. You're like, we just need to do this much and it'll be awesome. Because it's like, you know, it's the whole, but going back to like the punk thing where like it is the bigger picture, it's the long game, it's everything. Like even if you broke even on the Suno pedal, like that's just fucking sick. You know? Like it doesn't matter. Like it's just
that's kind of how we
felt
about it.
It was cool. Like
you know,
the first version of it, like every aspect of that was like any other company would have been like, hell no. Like everything was so expensive to manufacture, like to custom make. So cool. But it was like, you see it through so you can see the end product.
Yeah. Damn, that's the jam. So it's funny because I always, not that I'm throwing someone under the bus, but like
Do it.
Brett Gurewitz from Epitaph and Anti, he's awesome. He's a good friend of mine. I love that guy. He's put out a bunch of my bands and lost money on all of them. But he, oddly enough, called me one time to talk to me about these artists that I was working with. Wanted to know my opinion, and my opinion wasn't that good. But that doesn't matter. But he's like, I want to know if I should put their record out. And I was like, man, I think that they're like kind of not that great of people, I guess, but I feel like it would be successful for you. And he was like, okay. So he was kind of like trying to wrap his head around these people that I was working with. And then he was like, well, I have a question for you. Or no, he didn't have a question for me. He's like, I have this thing happening that I can relate to. Pearl Jam wants to put out a record on Anti. And I was like, whoa, that's pretty gnarly. That's like a big deal. He's like, but I hate their music. And I was like, yeah, I do too, but it's fucking Pearl Jam. Like the most, they're like the Fugazi of, they're like Fugazi meets U2 or something. I don't know. Like
I know what you mean. They hit a place. They sit in a weird place.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Where,
and he was like, I want to do it, but I can't stand their music. And I'm like, dude, you got to do it. I don't understand why you wouldn't.
Yeah.
And then he passed. And I was like, wow, man. Mm-hmm. And it, part of me like questions some of the stuff he puts out, but that's his taste. But then also I was just like, that is like, then I fully respect that guy for like, that's a fucking huge deal right there.
Yeah, that's a wild thing to pass up, I think.
Yeah. And the fact that they reached out to him, I'm like, dude, that says a lot.
Yeah.
But I think if we were approached by anybody that like what their pitch was is like, we're gonna make so much money.
I don't think Pearl Jam was doing that.
I know, but like I think that has happened. Like people are like, you can make so much money doing it.
You gotta
things
do
like
this.
that, and I'm just immediately like, I don't know if
because if you're gonna make so much money and you're just but you're just cool, you just don't have to say that shit.
I've definitely turned down things that I think other pedal companies would have killed to do.
You don't have to tell.
And
us,
it like I mean,
Or like,
some of those things, almost all of those things have come out, but like it's like you have a meeting with the people and you're like,
yeah, of course.
So it's like I'll entertain it just to be nice.
Well, you
I
don't
think now,
know until you do have a meeting. Like, are we going to connect? Are we going to like communicate well? Like, where do we have common ground? And what is your vision for it? Or like, are you you're expecting us to come up with a vision for you? Like, like I don't know. There can be a lot of different ways that it comes to us that it just doesn't the right opportunity.
But it's also like scary. I mean, not that I don't feel inclined, but like if I was in, let's say, Sun O, I'd be like, I don't know, do I just ask them to make a pedal? Like, it just seems like a wild thing to be like, hey, you want to do this pedal? Like, I don't know, it just seems like
well, it's also
strange.
like the approach of it too is like both of the all the artists that we've worked with so far, like both the pedals that have come out and like some future things, like everybody's been super cool. There was like something beyond like, let's make a product together. It was like, I got this really cool thing and like I got an idea. Like, do you want to talk about it or whatever? Like it's never like it's like very organic the way that it's happened, and like that is the kind of thing that makes it like really exciting for me. Like I like the band, they're cool people. It's like this like kind of project like that we're trying to solve together or whatever. Like I like doing that kind of stuff. But like every time something comes up that's like, hey, we should do this. I think that the market needs this thing, or like it would generate this, or like somebody's got an idea that they pitch to you, or like I think most of the time that somebody has pitched an idea and like we don't really know them, like it immediately is like within like 2 minutes, it's like, yeah, we're not doing this. We're not doing this thing. Like you can kind of tell,
well, I
like
can just,
right away.
Remember like this highlight reel of people being like, you know what you should make, and like all of these things that you would like. I remember so many times you'd be like, that already exists. It's this, or you know what I mean. That would be a really common thing. Or, I mean, like, the way that people can do that sometimes can be, like, really kind of, like, I don't know, offensive.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I know better than you what you should be doing. And it's like, well, then you should do it. Like, if you know what you you do it. You know what I mean? Like, why don't you let us do what we're going to do? You know what I mean? Or like, I know that we would have this feeling too that like if somebody was like, I have the best idea in the whole world. And like, then suppose that we were like, hey, man, that guy, he had the best idea in the whole world. And then suppose we go back and make it. And then like, is he going to come back and be like, you owe me everything. I gave you that idea. I know exactly where you got it.
Yeah.
Like you kind of have these weird ideas of like, how could this play out?
Yeah.
And like, none of it feels right. And like, you also have no shortage of ideas.
Yeah.
That's something that I really know about you is like, you're not like sitting there staring at the wall like, oh, if only an idea would come to me. You know what I mean?
There is no shortage of ideas. And like, I'm like super paranoid about total strangers sending us ideas. Because who's to know, like, if we make something like close to
I think that you've actually scrapped things because someone, like, you had it almost there, and then somebody was like, you should make that. And you were like, well, that
now
I'm
this
not
is
going
done.
to.
Yeah.
I feel like that's actually
I did
happened.
steal one thing that somebody sent in. Somebody had this great idea of for this pedal, and I don't even really remember. This had something to do with MIDI, and it was like really like, you know, not something we would do, and like kind of maybe both over and under my head. Like I did. Either way, he had a drawing that he sent in with the pedal, and it was like
Slimer?
yeah, I don't remember.
It was Slimer.
Was it Slimer? Like a poorly drawn Slimer, but it had two controls, and one was always and one was never. And I took that idea.
So just calling it.
A knob, a control, always
and never. I was like, that's great. But then we scrapped the pedal at the last minute, so it never came out. So I'm holding on to that one, or somebody else can have it.
Maybe they'll hear this. That is
Yeah,
really
you're
good.
welcome.
Yeah.
Like the thing that the UFO thing that you had. What was like? There's like a Frank Zappa.
Yeah, the Frank Zappa button, and who knows?
Yeah, who knows?
Yeah.
I mean,
Maybe that will be the next.
the who
next
knows
thing.
you could probably get away with.
Yeah,
it.
well, I took Master Oscillator from
Yeah.
from that ridiculous thing,
But
but
who knows is good.
it is. I kind of also like that everything functions in normal mode or Frank Zappa mode, and I'm not really a Frank
And
Zappa
there's
fan
no
at
in
all,
between.
Yeah.
but yeah,
You do
that-
like normal and abnormal. I
yeah,
guess.
yeah.
might
Normal.
not be
I mean, maybe everything in the world is. It's like on off. Normal Frank Zappa. I don't know. Whatever it is.
But I think another thing too that I've noticed, which I don't see with other pedal companies, is like people utilizing the pedals differently. So like not just guitar playing, you know. And I think that's cool. You don't see it as much elsewhere.
No, and I mean, I wouldn't
I
take
think more and more all the time.
I wouldn't take credit for it, but and like nowadays, like I'm seeing it all over the place.
Sure.
But like, yeah, I wasn't seeing like we can, you know, I don't want to keep sticking on NAMM, but like I wasn't seeing like people rolling up to other pedal companies with like a harp or a flute and things like that. That was happening in our booth, and now
But I
now
guess-
you see it all the time.
Yeah, the harp, yeah.
Yeah.
But you guys like embraced it. Where I
Yeah.
feel
Oh,
like,
yeah.
I feel like maybe it happened everywhere, but like you guys were just like fully bringing it.
Well, you like welcomed it to the idea of that.
Yeah, definitely. And like a lot of times, like I think, you know, all getting our minds blown by like, whoa, like that's a pretty cool fuzz pedal on guitar, but like you plug a Moog into it and it's like, holy shit, it's like a whole nother thing. Or like get some guy to play harmonica in your office through it. And it's like, oh my God.
And a lot of people just, even if they come up with the idea of like, I'm going to run my, whatever, the harmonica through this pedal, like, it's not going to go further than just like their rehearsal space, you know. But like someone to actually see it through publicly, is cool.
You know what I
mean,
heard
we
is like,
really things that are like interesting, things that are like unique, people that are trying new things, like seeing things done that we haven't seen done before, like just things that are interesting. Like there's so much like stuff that's the same, or like, and I think that's something that's I really like about our music scene and our culture is that we're not, I don't know, there's like people like you, they're always trying to advance things. We're not trying to just emulate and recreate what's been done in the past.
Yeah.
And like, I think there are other cultures that are more like that. They're trying to like, they idolize their, you know, their heroes, and they're trying to like recreate those sounds like faithfully. And like, there's something for that. Like there's a place for that for sure. And that's great. But I'm more interested in like what's pushing the envelope forward. Like what's the next thing? Like what will inspire us, you know, like that kind of thing.
Yeah. And I think it's animal calls through effects pedals.
That's
what I heard.
Yeah,
I heard
definitely,
that's the
definitely.
next hot thing.
Can we just hold on? That is so cool because last night we saw Jason Wade. I don't know if people listen to this know who Jason Wade is, but he was in this band Resin. But he's in a ZZ Top cover band now, and he does animal calls through effects pedals.
And it's the best gig he's ever had. He loves it.
Yeah.
He's in a great mood.
Super stoked on it.
Super stoked.
He's constantly covered in glitter. He wears spurs.
Yeah.
And now he has a bell on him.
Yeah.
So like it's clear this is working
But
for him.
Initially, I mean, right away, I was like, dude, you guys have to do something with him. I don't think anyone was like...
No one is prepared for, like, the world isn't prepared for Jason Wade.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They will be. And you know what? They don't have to be. They're getting it.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's what, it's not like me talking shit about them, but, like, no one knows what they're about to get. I think that's my point.
But also, how do you update ZZ Top? Well, you get someone like this fucking insane dude, like playing these bird calls through pedals.
Yeah.
And at first I was like, "Do you mean it's just like the solo?" And he's like, "No, I just do it like the
whole time."
Dude, this is some next level shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is good.
Sorry, what were you gonna say?
Well, I can't top that. No. But Julie, you were mentioning conducted a symphony.
Oh, yeah.
And ran the pedals. I mean, how did that make you feel?
Oh my God. I mean, it was like, we had seen a few of the rehearsals, but like really that was the first time it had ever been performed, was beginning in those rehearsals. And it was like a huge undertaking to try to figure out how to make that work. And we had really given John complete creative control. Like he was like, "Are there any pedals do you want me to feature?" Or we're like, "Any of them, like whatever you want to do." And he actually made an instrument, this confluence harp, for this performance. So like mine was blown by that. Mine was blown by the feeling in the room of because I mean I love the symphony anyways. I think classical music is so beautiful and so good for your brain, and but like hearing this new piece of music and all of these new sounds coming from the orchestra, it was incrable. It blew my mind.
The conductor controlled the pedals?
It wasn't the conductor, it was the composer. The conductor was conducting, but there was a composer and an arranger, and they had worked together. John Sonnenberg was the composer, and Jake Gunnar Walsh. So John Sonnenberg composed it and worked with Jake Gunnar Walsh to arrange it for the symphony. And Jake is an extremely talented oboist. And so they both performed. So John was manipulating the pedals. Several of the instruments were mic'd, and he was manipulating the pedals live. And it was like just the coolest thing. Like the cello solo was like so cool. Yeah, you guys got to watch it.
Was
and
it
there's
like psychedelic or
no, it was like
very.
very.
It was long. That was one thing. It was like a 20-minute long piece, but it's like a really dramatic and like kind of covered a lot of territory. Honestly, and not in a negative way. It reminded me of like a Disney score. Like it was like there's a lot of ups and downs in it.
Really made you feel. Yeah.
Yeah, and I had, I was an idiot. I had no idea like what it actually was. Like up until like we went to go, like I knew we were partnering with the symphony, and I knew like John was involved, but like I had no idea to like what scale like the whole thing
you were
really
busy creating new pedals.
Yeah, like John was asking me questions the whole time, like, is there anything that you think would like work good on this or that, or like, is there anything you want me to show off? And I was like, no, do whatever you want. John's a genius.
Yeah.
This is the one thing about him. Like, he's an engineer, an electronic engineer, but he also like builds all these homemade instruments that like don't exist, like shit that he just invents, and they're all amazing. He's like, he's in this. There's a documentary about modular synth called "I Dream of Wires," and he's in that a bunch. He makes music under the name Travelogue.
I could listen to him talk about sounds.
Yeah, he's got like the
forever.
most pleasant
about
voice,
sounds.
and he's like so easy to work with. Like he's like a real sweetheart guy, and like it blew my mind. Like when I saw like really how thought out it was, and like just how much really went into the whole thing. And like it wasn't just like running the whole orchestra through pedals. It was like there's dynamics, and like different instruments were manipulated by different pedals and things like that. And like, you know, afterwards, like he had all these ideas for other things too. Like he'd been thinking about how it's like that's just a small piece of like a bigger puzzle, basically.
Yeah, the next one will be performed in January next year.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice.
Wow.
And then eventually there'll be like a trilogy is what their grand idea is.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that like another orchestra will want to perform it. Like that's how these pieces, you know.
Yeah.
And it was like a really well attended like
It was really cool.
performance,
Like
and it
well
was
received.
Yeah, and it was fascinating because you could see like the standard people who just come to the orchestra every weekend, and then you could totally see like who came because EarthQuaker was part of the thing. There's like all these people in like denim jackets, like
Yeah, and like well, like really like it was performed just before intermission, and people were like buzzing. It was like created an energy,
super
and it was
stoked on it.
yeah, it was really special. And it made me. I had like been on tour the month of February, and it was like March 6th, I think, something like that. So like didn't have a lot of time to prepare for it, I felt like, but like for this next one, I'm going to try and bring as many people from out of town to check this out, like make it a really special thing. Yeah.
Well, can you should maybe document it, or was it? It's
yeah. There's two films that feature it. There's one that is the live performance, and then there's one that documents how it was created. Yeah. So kind of behind the scenes with all the people involved and talking about what their intentions were and how they did what they did. And of course the Confluence harp, and yeah, both videos are really special. Yeah.
Whoa.
And yeah, I think we're talking to the symphony about trying to release it as well so that people can download it. And
Yeah, I mean, I also think it's really cool, like that the Akron Symphony would like take a chance on like running like flutes through distortion and like having a harp made out of metal pieces that you're just bashing on through like a reverb.
Because
and,
a lot
like,
of orchestras are like real purists. Like they don't even want to dabble in like living composers or like they just want to stick to like the classics and that's it. And so this was like a real gamble. And I think it speaks to them a lot that they were willing to like take this chance. But I mean, really, they came to us with this like idea for this collaboration. And they had given a speech before, like introducing it, like saying the nicest things about how we're like, you know, so inspiring to the community and like, you know, spread Akron all over the world, like all these like really kind things.
Yeah, it's like they knew about us. Like it wasn't just like kind of bullshit. Like it's this thing. Like they really paid attention. Which I don't know. I just thought it was cool. Like it's not our world, but like we're definitely welcomed in it, and like it really worked well together. Like way better than I could have ever
definitely
imagined.
one of the things I'm like most proud of is doing that.
But you said, I mean, I get it. Like the classical community is likes their stuff one way, but I think that goes for like any genre. I mean,
well, I think that there's
punk or whatever too.
Yeah, there's like this, you know, the institution of it, that there's like certain people that this is what they expect and this is what they want to see. But there's also a lot of other people that want to do all kinds of other things, you know, and like they just want to perform beautiful music like that's arranged in this way that these instruments can perform, but are interested in like pushing boundaries. And
like what you're saying, like any other band or genre, like you can fuck up a note live, but you like classical has to be so precise, the note, you know, how hard it's hit or how soft it's hit. It has to be
Or
the
not through a distortion pedal.
Yeah, it's almost like
but like with this, it was really interesting.
Or, you know what I mean? You lose your job if you hit two wrong notes. You're out.
Yeah.
You know, it's like.
But like they asked us to come to the rehearsals because they were like, like we need somebody that's sitting out in the house that can like tell us if this is sounding how it's supposed to sound. But we're like, no one knows how this is supposed to sound.
Wow.
Do you know what I mean? Like it's never been performed before, you know? And all of that was like challenging to like bring the production together. And of course, you know, musicians, it's really, they don't want to go out and do something that they're worried is not going to sound good, you know what I mean? Or like could malfunction. So getting all that stuff dialed in, I think that was probably some of the most intense rehearsals that they've had, as opposed to like, you know, interpreting a piece that's been performed a million times.
Huh. Luke had this idea. Can you, I don't know if we can talk about it, the MPC with the outs to each pedal.
Oh, yeah. Well,
Well, because, okay, so first of all, like, I always trip out on Luke because he has 2 MPCs and most people just have one. And
Wait,
like,
what's an MPC?
it's a sampler sequencer.
Okay,
pretty
okay,
much.
cool.
but his are like old school, right? And it's like, all the people in hip hop and shit are always like, whoa, he's got 2. Like, I mean, to me,
those were the buttons you were pushing on the film last night. Some of them.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
most people, like, I think are just normal and they have one.
What does M and P and C stand for?
Something production center.
Not percussion?
Musical.
Oh, maybe percussion. I don't know. And I've
No,
been
I
playing it
think-
for over 20 years, and I do not know.
Google.com.
I was telling. Well, we can edit this out.
It's a MPC. There was a number?
2000.
Mild puke conference.
My personal computer.
It's like MDC.
God,
where
what if that is what it
MDC
is?
just like
Yeah.
changes
Yeah,
the name
it's
all
like
the time.
it's the new MDC.
Akai?
MDC for best.
Yeah,
Akai
Akai,
MPC. What if it is my personal computer?
We should all email our individual Sweetwater sales reps right now.
Multi-pedophilic Christians.
What was I trying to say? Oh, my point was, like, I feel like since I've been working with Luke and we will do these things that I guess are based in the hip hop world. All of his friends that are MCs and stuff are like, "Yo, what the fuck? This is crazy. You're like MCing like like yelling and like I'm like, why doesn't anybody just do that shit? You know?"
Music Production Center.
Center. So he controls 2 centers at once. But so people like trip out on stuff, you know, and I think, well, that's like Luke's vision that he had. Like he was like coming up with all that stuff. So then today we were talking about it earlier. He's like, you can explain it, the outs of the go to each pedal. Or whatever.
Yeah, so I have 8 outs. So I basically can assign one note or one drum or whatever to a different pedal.
Like each pad.
So I've seen drummers run, you know, like they'll play their set through like a certain pedal.
Yeah.
But I can put like the organizer on a kick, and then, you know, the rainbow machine on the, you know, the snare.
Right, yeah.
And then for you, Julie, I was just thinking, because I know we've been all talking about sound bass. I was thinking how cool it would be to trigger a bunch of the bowls and then trigger like 4 or 5 different
through all the
bowls.
different pedals.
And then run them, because you can assign them separately.
Yeah, I didn't realize it had all the separate outs. I thought it was just a stereo output.
You upgrade it to it.
But most
cool.
people, even if I don't know if people do that. If they do that, not many of them do.
Yeah, I
You
don't
like,
know.
They did it so you can record into your console like that.
Okay.
So like
Yeah, like a multi-track recording.
But
Exactly.
not like each one to a pedal. Like I feel like you're doing the same thing that the weirdo with the harmonica did.
yeah,
You know what I'm saying? Like, who plays the harmonica through distortion or whatever, you know, or Jason Wade sing. So I thought of it like that. Like, wow, this is like next level, or like not. I mean, it is next level, but it's also just like the people that you always associate with do it differently because
Right, yeah.
who gives a shit?
Yeah.
You know? Where like Boss, unfortunately, their people don't do it differently.
Yeah, I don't think so. Like, I mean, anymore, I'm surprised at who like gets kind of more experimental with their stuff. No one's coming to mind right now, but like, I'm surprised by who gets experimental and who is like more of a purist a lot of times.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, everybody has like a different thing going
Well,
on.
I guess
It's
like the smaller tiered kind of companies, like I think of like Trogotronic, which is just pure weird shit all the time, and that's like awesome and beautiful. But like you couldn't buy a pedal and be like, oh, that's a delay pedal, or you're just like, I don't know what the fuck that is. It's just a thing.
Yeah.
It's almost like it's an instrument on its own. I mean, I guess it essentially is, because even with Trogotronic, like I've had pedals where I'm like, I can't play my bass through that. I just need to like hold it and do it with my
and
fingers.
fuck around with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, I guess to kind of clarify what I was kind of thinking, you know, with like Boss or somebody, like some of these people, there's like really out there stuff, like patches in some of their pedals and stuff, but they don't make it. It's like a small piece of a larger package where they don't focus on it if that makes sense. Like, you know, a lot of like these boss pedals that can get experimental, or, you know, not to single boss out. A lot of these like bigger companies pedals that like can get experimental. That's not the focus of it. The focus of it is like, here's 20 really nice sounding reverbs. And if you go to menu B and like kind of dig around, like there'll be like these really cool pitch shifters or like things that tail off in weird ways, but they're always like buried. And they're not like the primary focus, and a lot of times the whole package is just difficult to navigate. Like, you know, you got a menu dive and learn all these new things, or like there's only 2 knobs and they do 45 different things. You know what I mean? It's just like confusing stuff. And I think like, at least where I like to sit with that, I like everything to just like, what it does is what it does. Sure. Like, you know, of course we have a couple pedals where like you can get a bunch of different sounds out of it, or like every time you turn, like a rainbow machine is, you know, a typical example. Like every time you turn it in some way, you're going to get some new weird sound. And
it almost writes the song.
Yeah. It's like you got to play to it instead of the other way around. You know, I think that I like to focus on like just like one specific kind of thing, I guess is my point, and make it like easy to manipulate and to like make music, whether you're going to do something weird and experimental or you're just going to play like, you know, classic rock through it or something. Like you can get to both spectrums like right there. Yeah. You know.
I think that's part of what is really exciting is like you put it out there, you hope people are inspired by it, you hope they use it. But yeah, and like coming back to like people using it through different instruments and in different ways we couldn't have imagined, you know, that's really exciting. Yeah.
But I feel like it's all like the you know, the people from that are cut from the same kind of cloth, like they're willing to just be like, I'm gonna try this. I mean, I think of like Mick Barr is a good example, who played through 3 metal zones. Like I don't think, you know, when they were making Metal Zone, they're like, someone's gonna have to buy 3 of these.
Yeah,
sounds so fucked up
to do this. Yeah,
but like that was it. Like even, you know, I mean, the sound was great, but like even just looking at 3 in a row, you're just like, that just
it hurts.
Awesome.
Yeah,
like it hurts. Yeah, it hurts. Like the Guitar Center sales rep, you know, in their brain, they're just like, what? That's wrong. You know, and you're like, no, that's right.
So when we test pedals, you know how we saw that today?
Yeah.
There's a few where people would be like, I want, you know, because you could test one at a time, but you could also turn more on at once. And like the speaker cranker, I know, like a bunch of people that would be testing pedals would be like, 2 of these in a row sounds so good, you know, like, so I think maybe more than you think might come up in the within manufacturing of people being like layering things together. Or I know a lot of our employees in production, you know, all those discarded circuit boards, like if it still worked, but it sounded different in like a good way, people get really excited about that. You know, like that would not end up in there. Somebody would like buy it and stuff it into an enclosure and use it
like,
that way.
Do mods and stuff with all the pedals. Like
the multiple things is great though.
It
I
is.
mean, I used 2 Line 6 FM4s, and people always say like, why do you have 2? And you're just like, well, because I play one into the other, and then it just gets stupid. Like, I mean, no one has that sound.
I just started using 3 Digitech. Well, no, it's actually 2 Digitech ricochets into 1 Digitech drop. So it's like 2, like kind of like stationary whammies. That's kind of what the ricochets are into the drop, and it sounds ridiculous. You can have one that goes up while it's going down, and then it's just being shifted at the same time. Sounds horrible, but in like a great way.
Wow.
Yeah, but like I do. I'm getting really into the like multiples of the same.
That's
thing
a brain hurt
at the
thing,
same
like
time.
Mick brain hurt.
Yeah,
you're like, oh yeah, that's just. I'm trying to think like, what the fuck would even happen with that?
It's difficult to do because you have to use both your feet at the same time to do it all. But it's I like it.
Coordination.
Like, do you have to sit down or could you stand up and do that?
It's easier to stand up and do it.
Really?
It's like tap dancing.
Yeah.
Well, then we'll have to come up with a whole new like switching system so that you can do them like
just
1 foot like heel toe. I don't know.
I did a Sweetwater video on my pedal board. The Sweetwater crowd is being pretty nice in the YouTube comments about it. I thought that they would be like,
oh, good.
Like who the fuck is this guy, and why does everything sound blown out? I talked for like 40 minutes before I actually attempt to play anything through it, but like I had just put the pedal board together with the things, and I was sitting down trying to do it, and I couldn't do it. And I was like, get out.
But I love that.
Did they leave that in?
No, they couldn't.
Okay.
I gotta see that. The comment section, huh? It's not too bad.
Yeah, I was like, oh shit, it's up. What are they gonna say? And it's like, not bad. I was surprised.
Fender did a bunch of stuff with they did 2 videos with Bobby Bray from the Locust.
Oh.
And people just shit on him.
Really?
It was but it was like pretty rad. Like you would expect it. You'd be like, what the fuck is that? That's not even music. You're like, okay. You know, he's like doing all this insane finger tapping shit, and you're like, you know, the jerks are like, they just don't know what they're talking about. You know, a couple people are like, fuck yeah, Bobby, you know, or whatever, like they know what's up. Or like, so, you know, there's like this one where they're like, that's like a fucking Tom Morello ripoff.
Anytime somebody does something that sounds stuttery, like it's like Jack White or Tom Morello, it's like, oh my god.
And everyone forgets people like Agata from Melt Banana.
Yeah, it's like this is your reference point. Jesus.
Like, you guys are
We did the first event we ever did with Guitar Center. They wanted to do these like in stores, and we were like, we want to do ours with Nick Reinhardt, and they were like, okay, great, send us a photo. It's going to be on these banners. And he sent us this amazing photo, and his guitar is literally backwards. And so we were like, perfect.
Upside down.
Yeah,
like,
upside down.
Playing the back of it.
Yeah.
like the strings were touching.
Yeah.
Touching.
Oh, that's great.
And so we sent it to him, and like it was like mocked up, and like somebody at the very end was like, I just want to make sure we're all on the same page. That this guitar is like backwards, and that's what we want. And I was like, yes, that's exactly what we want.
It.
Yeah.
When we did that like series of Guitar Center events, it just reminded me of this. We did one in New York with our friend Jimmy Carbonetti, and Jimmy plays, and Jimmy's that fucking amazing.
That's
guy.
that guitar I showed you at the studio.
He builds Carbonetti guitars. He's an awesome dude. And he plays in Caveman, but he plays like a lot of like really like reverb drenched, like kind of like just swells and building. He's not like a shredder like you would see at Guitar Center. So we did that. Like he did that, and Walter Becker came from Steely Dan. Wow. And like Walter Becker just kind of took over the event at the end and like did a noise set.
It was
just
awesome.
like total chaos noise, and it was like people in the store like, what the fuck is going on here? And it's like, that's the dude from Steely Dan. Like it's total chaos.
Doing what he wants to do.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it was awesome.
It was really cool. I was
Maybe
like,
there is a god, huh?
Yeah.
Anytime I've ever seen Walter Becker too, like that was like he was a cool dude, and like he would do stuff like that. It was like out there.
Yeah.
Like nothing like Steely Dan.
I love that if like it's not Inner Sandman or fucking what's the Nirvana one, Teen Spirit. Like people at Guitar Center just do not want it.
Yeah, they had no idea.
You're like, those are the only 2 songs we can play.
Yeah.
What's next for you guys? I mean, what you don't have to talk about the new pedals or the collabs or whatever, but like,
I mean, it's really amazing that we have the new, equipment up and running, and
I was
we're like
so impressed today.
nearly through all of the conversions, because that's been like such a huge draw on Jamie's bandwidth that, during the pandemic, it was redesigning everything to accept new parts, and then it was converting everything for this new production style. But I feel like now that we're nearly through this, he'll be able to focus more on new products again. So I would say
new products.
We're going to see, last few years, we've only been able to do like 2 new products a year. But we'll definitely be doing, closer to like 4. We're having fun doing some limited legacy reissues.
That's cool.
Which you guys, I really enjoyed seeing you guys check that out. That was exciting.
It's crazy, like the difference in them. I really noticed it. I just I don't know. It's crazy.
you gotta catch them all. That's
catch
them all. Yeah,
get all the legacy ones.
Yeah,
Pokemans.
But I mean, like I think those are really cool. Like a lot of these, we were super proud of. Jamie worked really hard on. They were like interesting and good pedals, and
like it's just before like they ran their course. It was like before people were like really knew who we were, and so with a bunch of them, it's weird to me to think like neither of us came up with the name Legacy Reissue Series. It makes me feel a little bit weird hearing it, but like it's accurate.
It's limited legacy reissue series.
It's just
and
weird.
I did come up with it.
Did? Well,
Julie came up with it. I think I did come up with it.
Luke did for some reason. Or
well,
Jeff.
maybe I told them to come up with it.
So come up with a name.
But
Come up with this, and it's mine.
Well, I kind of think I did come up with
Okay.
it. But
I mean,
I also don't want to be held to that.
you don't want to be.
But I
It's a
definitely-
possibility.
But I definitely know that I told them to make it feel cohesive because we're going to do it more.
Yeah.
And so if we had something that we could continuously use but refresh for things, and they were like, "Oh yeah, totally, sure thing, boss." And then they did it. It was great.
Legacy reissue. It's just weird to me.
Limited.
Yeah,
legacy.
limited legacy reissue. It's almost an LLC. It's an LLR. We're inventing business styles. It's an X Corp.
I had this idea. That's good too.
Yeah.
I had this idea that might be. We can cut this out if it's stupid. But what if like, you know, what are they called? Like where they have like geo stashes, right? Like, do you know about that stuff?
This is the thing we were talking about doing. Yeah, it's like where we hide things and people got to go
In the world.
hunt for them around the world. We were talking about doing that.
But what if
A
you guys?
scavenger hunt?
But it's like
That's what I was talking
Kind
about.
of, but it's like you
Yeah.
get flues.
There'll
Well,
be
like-
like one on the corner in like a tree over there
Yeah.
or something. You know, like just random shit.
Yeah, I really want to bury some stuff.
That'd be so sick.
Yeah.
What if you like were just like, yo, take these on tour and geostash them? I don't know how you tell the world where they're at.
it's like you got to remember the coordinates
I
of
know.
where you put them, but you got to.
And sometimes maybe no one will ever find them. But it'd be sick if you guys had all these like, I don't know, like the one that we saw the day
Yeah.
the person's return that was smashed, or just something like
Yeah.
random where it doesn't matter.
No, we've had things like, remember we were telling you all the issues with the production of the Life Pedal V1?
Yeah.
And then we ended up having more than what we had originally said each colorway would be.
Oh, yeah.
And so it's funny, there's like some threads where people are like, they have like 1,011 of 1,000, and they're like, how did this happen?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And it's like, well, we had this stuff. I guess we built it, and then I guess we bought it. But
I mean, you
like,
can just keep putting like 999, 900, you know, like.
I mean, we
over and
could,
over,
but
yeah.
I don't know. We're too honest. We're
Yeah.
gonna print. Like, we could accidentally do that.
We accidentally had 11 more. Like, people need to fucking chill
Yeah,
out.
we accidentally had 11 more. Yeah, and like people were like freaking out about it. But like with this whole thing in that like gray area between like when they initially sold out and then when we got the remainder that would actually complete the amount that we
Yeah.
said we were making. I was so worried that somebody was like going to shoot us for putting it out or not putting it out that I was
Yeah.
like, we should bury them in a time
Yeah,
capsule.
oh, yeah.
And like
Or just
schedule
send,
like
just send
yeah.
them on tour with someone and be like, yo,
Yeah.
hide these in fucking truck stop gas station. Or
Just
go
let,
Yeah.
let people take them.
bathrooms.
That reminded me.
Or there's like some sort of like feat you must accomplish in order to qualify for one.
Climb Mount
And then-
Everest and you'll get a Grim Reaper.
There's like an application. It takes you like 2 hours to fill out. You're like, oh my God, I'm never going to finish this application and like be
The
a
end.
potential buyer of his pedal.
At the end, you get this pedal.
But it might be like
you know,
next
you get
level. It
you
might
get
be like-
qualified to maybe get the pedal.
Qualified to maybe purchase purchase the pedal.
Yeah, there's like still like more like then we get to pick like who gets to buy it.
The art and the name are completely out of our hands, but it's called the Grim Reaper.
It's pretty good.
I liked it.
And I
it's
got
not
it in
great.
for repair, and like I went to open it up to look at the serial number, and I had totally forgotten that we labeled them all 420 out of 350. Like every one of them was number 420. Which was like a terrible joke, but awesome. Like when I forgot and was surprised by it, I was like, huh, that was actually funny.
Or you should have put like one of them is full of weed. It's like not even a real pedal.
Yeah.
It's just like full of weed.
I wish you guys did more of that shit, but you get in trouble.
Yeah, well, we had our own.
Not that much
we had our
trouble.
own weed.
The weed, yeah, whatever. What?
Yeah.
Weed?
Astral Destiny.
Astral Destiny, a local grower, Galenas, like had approached us about doing it, and like I didn't build it or anything. It was
Yeah.
like they grew it and we're like, we branded it. I made the label, the artwork for it, and
You're like, the delay is too long on that.
yeah. Well, in
The
full
distortion.
disclosure, I tried it, and I went into outer space. I can't touch it
Oh,
at
wow.
all. Like as just like a hit, and I went.
That
in-
was your Astral Destiny.
That was I took
Yeah.
a serious Astral Destiny into this kitchen behind me about 30 times trying to get a pair of scissors. Could not remember what I was trying to do. Like ate a bunch of cookies. It was like around Christmas. I wrapped like 4 gifts wrong. It's like, I'm done.
That's great.
It was too much. So
Can you tell the headphone story?
I mean, can we tell it correctly? We could tell our present interpretation of what we think might have happened, but like,
such a good story.
Yeah.
The Audio Technica, we had borrowed a bunch of headphones for all our pedal board stations at NAMM. Again, it's full circle, and we had to send them all back to I guess I'll say it, Audio Technica, right? I did say that already. Audio Technica. They're also from here too.
Audio Technica.
Audio Technica. Audio Technica.
Yeah.
Maybe if we say it like a bunch of times, they'll forgive you.
Yeah, like enough. We've said it enough times that hopefully.
Fueled by Audio Technica.
Yeah. Yeah, so we had to send all these the headphones back, and the end of a NAMM show is kind of chaos. Like there's like 30 people like trying to tear down this booth and get out of there as fast as possible, and we had all of this leftover weed, and somebody had the idea like we'll just ship it back to us like in our freight shipment, and they shoved it in a box, and we flew home, we got our freight shipment, we couldn't find it at all, and then
Or we didn't even know we were looking for it.
well, yeah, I think somebody knew, we didn't know, but then somebody got a call or an email or something from Audio Technica, and we had accidentally put it in one of the headphone boxes and shipped it back to them.
But I think we also didn't ship the headphones. Like,
no. We kept the headphones, and one of the boxes just had it was just full of weed, and they were pissed. Like,
So is there a possibility they were
cool.
mad that they didn't get the one headphone back? Are they mad because you just?
I think they were mad because we shipped
just
weed through the
squares.
mail.
But
They were
yeah,
like,
then
"What is
also
wrong with these people?"
I think you would expect you should know why you're mailing things and where, and it's like, well, you try to keep track of everything. Good luck. Hey, you better let me check that box before you ship it.
Yeah.
Also,
I
don't
it's
know.
Dude, they won the fucking lottery.
I'm
You
never
get a
gonna be
box
able
of weed. Like, you guys should be
Yeah,
psyched, man.
It's obviously a different vibe over there.
Yeah.
But we actually, they're great.
Yeah.
Fueled by Audio Technica.
But it was apparently like a thing there. I've run into people since then who used to work there who were like, oh yeah, I remember that. Everyone was talking about it.
Yeah.
So it's like, it must very rarely happen.
It's pretty cool publicity.
Yeah, tipped off the news. EarthQuaker accidentally mailed Audio Technica weed. It went through the mail. It was so crazy. You're totally not supposed to do that. And they didn't even get their headphones back, and nobody can even remember who did it. Yeah.
It would be great.
Yeah, it was 2 months ago.
Action 19 News would have totally covered that story. They're always talking about dogs on ice and shit.
Yeah. Yeah. Local company makes massive faux pas. One local company sent another local company the wrong package. Watch to find what happens next. We should mail them weed every year. Be like, I'm so sorry.
Dear
It
Audio,
starts with an apology.
Dear Audio Technica, it's our anniversary. I love you.
So there you have it. Episode 27 of the Cult and Culture podcast. We'd like to thank EarthQuaker Devices for being one of our sponsors, also for being on this episode, as well as Heartwork Coffee and Fender Guitars. If you have a chance, check out all of our other podcasts on Apple Podcast, probably on some Spotify bullshit. Check out 31G's SoundCloud profile where there's a playlist, which is the source of all the podcasts that we have with all of our friends and family. And thank you for listening. Take care.
Cult and Culture is proudly sponsored by EarthQuaker Devices, Fender, and Heartwork Coffee.
Planet B.